Hey there, my graceful grinders. This is Dr. Pamela Brown Grinion coming to you with another episode of the Grace and Grind podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about Black girls and our hair in professional settings. And I have professional hairstylist and author of Intentional Girls, Ms. Dominique Curry. She's been a hairstylist for 8 years, but she has been specializing and natural hair for 5 years. She is currently in the process of opening up her own salon. And she says that she does this because she's been in the position where she wasn't comfortable in her own skin and she just wants to help other Black girls embrace their Black girl magic and become comfortable in their own skin as well. So please give a warm welcome to Miss Dominique. Hey there, Miss Dominique.
Hey, okay, that was a nice little intro. I feel like when people go to Club Shay Shay and maybe he run down the whole list. I was like, okay, look at me.
Honey, that's you. That's all you. That's hats off to you too. Hats off to
Thank you,
you.
honey.
So yes, we're going to talk about Black girl hair, and this is a topic that is kind of near and dear to my heart. As you see, I love, absolutely love. I don't know who created weave, but I wish I could hug and kiss them. Okay, because I absolutely love my
Mm.
hairs, as I call it. Okay, but we're going to be talking about natural hair today in comparison to we're going to be talking about natural hair in comparison to how is natural hair perceived in the workplace in comparison to our artificial, unnatural, or weave, extensions, whatever you want to call it. So we have some questions here that we're going to just dive right into and just have some dialogue around some of these questions that may be controversial to other people or may make them have memories that they about experiences they've had regarding their hair. I certainly do have some stories as well. So what I want to ask you is that do you think natural hair is fully accepted in professional settings, or do Black women still face pressures to conform to Eurocentric standards in the workplace?
I definitely think it's relaxed over the years, just like most things, like racism. Like it's like little microaggressions. Do you know what I mean about our hair? The fact that we still got to have legislation to pass for us to actually wear our hair in certain professional spaces. I think it's still time. I think there's still room for growth and acceptance, but I think that the trajectory of where we're going, it's going to get there.
Yes, wonderful. You know what, I'm praying and I'm hoping that it does as well. And while I believe in being able to express yourself in your own way, in your own look, I just wish some people would be a little neater with the presentation of wearing natural hair, because you don't have to look like, to me, you don't have to look like you just rolled out of bed and
Mm-hmm.
you just walked on the street. So I'm all for natural hair. I'm actually growing my hair out because I'd like to wear a natural style, but I know how I want it to look, but
Right.
it will be polished. And I can't get with, the young people with the look where it's just like they rolled out of bed. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like that there's been a lot of miseducation on how to manage and care for our hair, which is why I wrote my book called Intentional Curls. Because I have a son that's 18 and he's in college, and he's keep calling me and be like, "Ma, how do I do this?" And I'd be like, "Well, da da da." But then I was like, "I've never actually shown you how to do it." So nobody's actually ever set us down and told us how to manage our hair. There's got those old wives' tale where they're like, "Don't wash your hair because dirty hair make it grow." But in actuality, our hair is naturally dry. So if we don't wash it, dry things break. That's why
Hmm.
a lot of us don't have a lot of retention. Our hair grows, but it breaks at the same rate. So I just feel like it could be an element of it is that there's a miseducation and people aren't being taught how to do so.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. I do, and I believe that is it. So where do we get this education? You watch your parents do your hair when you're younger. You know they're up there doing something, but like you said, is there actually a sit down and say, okay, let me show you the proper way to do your hair?
Talk about it, but there's no education on it. We don't have a lot of representation for us in a lot of places, and the ones that we do, it's maddening. Like if you go on YouTube, like they had me out here putting mayonnaise on my hair back in the day. Okay, so I just think
I think
it's
we all did that.
right, and I think it's a lot of the blind leading the blind. So there's nobody
Yeah.
sitting down and teaching us that, which is why I
Yeah.
wrote my book. So after you understand the science of your hair, then you know what your hair needs based on what's going on right now.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
kids
And
don't
that's
even know
what
how
you
to
mean
style.
by we're not being taught, right? We're not being taught
Exactly.
about the science of our hair, because if we understood, then we would care for our hair. When you know better, you should do better.
Right.
Maybe we would care for our hair better.
It'd be the
Yeah,
counterproductive.
yes, yes, yes. I was speaking with one of my friends the other day. I combed out I wear braids underneath, a protective style underneath my wig, and so I was combing out my hair, and I have a decent amount of hair, but it's very prickly and it breaks. It's
Because it's
soft, but it
dry.
still breaks, and
Hmm.
it's at the ends is very fine, and it tangles really badly. And I was saying to him, if I really need to go and have my hair washed, at a salon, but I always have to comb my own hair out because when I go, the stylist usually starts in the middle of my hair, in the middle of the strand, trying to comb out the tangles at the end instead of starting at the end and working your way up. And I think that's a huge lesson that we should maybe learn, teach, adopt, that you start combing out your hair at the ends and not at the root. Like my mom would say, I got to get to the root of it. I got to comb it at the root. And she would
Right.
start here and to comb out, and it would hurt so badly.
Oh yeah.
But that's
Again,
because she was combing it
miseducation.
incorrectly. Right.
Right. So
Right.
nobody, so that's the blind leading the blind leading the blind. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And in hair
Yes.
school, I know for a fact they don't teach textured hair at all. All the education I've
Hmm.
gotten is extra education that I paid for after school. And then me working on curly hair 40 hours a week. And I don't just mean certain types, I mean from everything in between. Do you know what I mean? So I've seen
Right.
some stuff. So I've learned over trial and error a lot of things that were being counterproductive to it and then not being taught.
Mm,
So these stylists are going in there and working on hair, and we're like, oh, we know how to do this because we got that hair. But nobody showed us that.
mhm.
And then the school isn't
Right.
teaching that. So it's just a lot of
Right.
miseducation, I feel like. I feel like there
Hmm.
needs to be. I'm only one woman. I'm trying to do my best. but
Right.
but that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Now, do you believe that relaxed hair or straightened hairstyles are viewed as more professional than natural hair in corporate America?
I feel like it goes back to what you were saying before about how looking messy and not looking messy, right? So
Right.
I think that the ones that are looking just like they roll out of bed, they just don't care for how they present themselves,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. They give it a
So
bad name.
right. So I feel like it's more susceptible in the sense that it's not messy. Do you know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
not all
I
over the
do.
place, right?
I
Um,
do.
I've worked at Kodak, Basham Lam, all kind of corporate places where I was the only black brown girl in the place, and I promise you, there's this one lady. She would come to my office every week because every other day we look something different, right? So she's like,
Right.
"What hairstyle you got today?" And I'm like, girl, it's a 20-inch bust out. You know what I mean? Like, but still, it's a fascination, it's a
Yeah.
curiosity, but
Yeah.
I also feel like there's levels to it because corporate America is a different kind of you have to present yourself in a certain way, right? Like we all know about code
Hmm.
switching and masking. That is a
Right.
masking
Right.
factor. But again, if
Right.
they don't know better, they can't do better.
Right. Right. But we actually have to code switch with our hair in some
Oh,
instances.
absolutely.
We,
Absolutely.
we have to code switch with our hair in order to be acceptable in mainstream society, especially if you want to be elevated up the corporate ladder, because you can
Farther
be
you go
held
up.
back. Right. You can
Absolutely.
be held back because you don't have the look of
Right.
someone that belongs in the C suite. You know what I
Is
mean?
it
You don't
right?
have the look.
Is it right? No, but that we all know the fact that we have to code switch. We know that in certain spaces we do have to, what I mean, depending on where you want to go. You got to play the game to win the game. You see instantly. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate, but I feel like we gonna get there.
we're making great strides, right? We're
Definitely,
making great strides,
for
so
sure.
eventually, we may not see it. I may not see, I'm 58. I may not see it in my lifetime, but I do believe that we are a society that is evolving and becoming
Absolutely.
more acceptable. So tell me, let's talk about this good hair.
Mm.
How do you feel about that term? Because I have some stories, honey, about good hair. Do you think that this ideology still affects how Black women chooses to style their hair for work, to make it look like good hair?
I think the younger generation, not as much. Because I remember, they'd be like the older generation was like, yeah, she got that water hair. You know what I mean? That hair that hit water on it and it gets slippery. I think we made it a thing in our thing because there's a lot of division and colorism going on. And I definitely think that we should, as a people, try to identify what's going on there. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of self hate and
Mm-hmm,
stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
once
mm-hmm,
we get to there, then we can have like these deeper conversations because there's a reason why,
mm-hmm,
right? And what's the
mm-hmm,
reason why?
mm-hmm. Well,
But
it is historical in our culture that if you were light skinned with good hair, then you would
hmm
have more opportunities. And so people aspired because that means you were closer
yes,
to white if you were light
right.
skinned with good hair. And a lot of biracial people back in the day could
hmm
pass for white, which made
hmm
them more acceptable in society. And I do
right.
believe that some of that still goes on now.
Oh
I
yes, for sure.
really do
Oh, for
believe
sure.
that, where people think that if you're the more light skinned you are, you're better. You
That's
can
a whole
excel
that's a
more.
whole nother conversation for sure.
Oh, it is. It
Oh, for
is.
sure.
It
But I
is.
think the younger generation, as far as who got good hair and who don't got good hair, I think that it's more information out there for us to take better care of our hair. It's still not
Mhm.
where it needs to be. But because I
Mhm.
think 4C hair is just hair that hasn't figured out how to be hydrated. Like I think
Mhm.
it's not, it just needs to be hydrated. So if
Mhm.
we
Now tell
all
us what
focus.
4C hair is. What's 4C hair?
Okay, so the typing system was created by Oprah Winfrey stylists back in the 2000s, right? And again, it's just another way to put us in boxes, right? So you got the, I'm not even gonna do the ones because the ones are straight hair, right? So we get to the
Mhm.
threes. The threes are the loose Bonicelli curlies, more like the Puerto Rican
Mhm.
curls, right?
Mhm.
And then it starts getting tighter and kinkier, and that's where
Okay.
the levels go up,
Mhm.
right? So then
Mhm.
4C doesn't have a specific curl pattern, right? uh,
Mhm.
it's just texture, whereas 4B has more of an S or a zigzag, and a 4A
Mhm.
spiral curl, and then
Mhm.
backwards for that way.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Wow, that's interesting. I just wanted to make sure that people were educated because I know that I've looked on some sites and they were giving all this, 4C, 4B, 3, and I'm like, okay, how do I
But that
know
doesn't
which
really
one
help.
is which?
But that doesn't
Right.
really
It doesn't
necessarily
help.
help.
It
Just
doesn't.
because
Yes.
somebody has a curl type like yours, how they hair absorbs moisture is different how your hair absorbs moisture. So it's never set
Mm-hmm.
in stone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. 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 So, speaking of this good hair, have you ever had a client ask you for a hairstyle that they really didn't want? They were just getting the hairstyle because they felt like it made them more acceptable and because they wanted to fit in the workplace.
I mean, absolutely. We've all hairstylists have had clients that are essentially masking. Do you know what I mean? Like they're trying to assimilate, they're trying to conform to what around them, especially my younger kids, like my biracial kids that they're the only ones with kinky hair in their predominant space. So they want to come in and get their hair straightened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a hairstylist, I'm not a therapist. So I can only educate them and inform them of how to take care of their hair properly so they can start feel comfortable in their own skin. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Because
I
once we
love that.
establish
Yes.
that comfortable in your own skin, then we can work on the outside part. But I understand that
Right.
outside is also a factor. So I don't want to negate how she's feeling because being anything in a woman. We're all being scrutinized and judged on everything. So if there's
Right.
one thing we can do to try to minimize it, but I think the whole debate with straight and natural hair is kind of just as I'll be 37 this year. I got 3 kids and a dog, right? Baby, I don't got time to be doing no natural hair all the time. So sometimes my lifestyle suggests for me to have straight hair. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's
Right.
not coming from a hate or a what you call it. But when it
Right.
does come from a hate, I'm a big advocate for therapy. I'd be like, baby, let's figure out why you feel like that. You know
Right.
what I mean? Or
Right.
educating the
Right.
parents to
Yeah.
not continue to push that narrative that, oh, this baby hair is nappy and I don't know what to do with it. Like, let's not talk about like that. Like, let's not put
Yes.
those things in our head already. Or older
Yeah.
women that feel like they still got to color their hair because they don't fit, they don't want to feel like they're the old person in the thing because people treat them differently. Like, I have one of my ladies say she's not going to stop coloring her hair until she retire because, again,
Wow.
environmental factors. So
Yes.
we're just made to conform. So depending on how
Yeah.
strong you are mentally and emotionally is how you're going to decide how you're going to show up in the world.
I'm so glad you said that because being being a professional that helps people to identify their barriers so that they can overcome their barriers, I always want to start from the inside out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
always want to find out how do you feel about yourself? What are you thinking about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What is the thoughts behind this action that you're
Right.
saying you want to change? Like, where did it come from? What's
Mm-hmm.
the real crux of why you
Mm-hmm.
are behaving or doing or saying or manifesting whatever? It came from somewhere,
Yep.
right? And
It's
it's
a
usually
belief.
attached to, right, it's attached to something that's deeply rooted, in the past. And so once we can
Mm-hmm.
get to that thing,
Yeah.
once we can find out why don't you like the way that you look, like who told you something about your hair that it wasn't pretty? Who
Literally
told you
everything
that
around
someone
us.
that had kinky hair? Right, right.
Our
But some of us
parents,
embrace it more than
society.
others.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Getting your hair,
Because
you and this nappy hair, getting your hair done by the
mm-hmm.
person that loves you most. Oh, I can't
Mm-hmm.
stand this nappy hair. Oh, your
Mm-hmm.
hair is
It
too
started at
thick.
home.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Gosh,
It
I
started at
guess I
home.
really didn't think about
And
that
then
till
that
right now.
internalizes and as you grow up and then you have society telling you the
Yeah.
same thing, so now we're trying to conform. So I think black hair has elevated so much so from the trauma of that to now we're switching it up daily where because we don't feel comfortable in our own skin, so we're like, but then it's
Hmm.
also a little sprinkle of black girl magic because the one thing that we can control
Yeah.
is our hair, right? And if this week I'm feeling like I want long hair, I got long hair. I love that we have the flexibility to do so. I love that we have different options.
Yeah.
I think if we can figure out what the root
Yeah.
is, like if you're doing it for you because you in the middle, you want to feel good with some blonde
Yeah.
hair, baby, put that in there. But if
Yeah.
you're putting on blonde
Yeah.
hair because you know what I mean, you hate yourself on the inside or there's some internal things going on, then there's that's the
Yeah.
issue there. But if you want to just switch it up
Yeah.
every day, switch it up every day because that's the only control sometimes all of us have in our life.
Yes, because our hair for Black women, women and girls, our hair is like an accessory.
It
You
is.
you picking your hair just like you picking your earrings.
Listen,
You
I
know what
had
I mean?
locks
Like,
2 weeks ago. I had locks 2 weeks ago, girl. I had them for 5 years. I woke up Tuesday and I was like, it gotta go. And period. Then I had to change my whole wardrobe because the short hair didn't go with the whole fit I had on.
yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
necessary.
definitely an accessory. And one
Definitely.
of my girlfriends was going on a cruise a few months ago, and she was like, oh, I got my wig for this, I got my wig. I was like, girl, let me find out your wigs are accessories,
Sis, and they
because
got
they
names.
are.
And they got names.
Honey, listen, Lola
Personality.
never fails me.
Period. Right, because it's the attitude that goes with it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
we turned our trauma into power. But there's
Yes.
still, I feel like the younger generations, they're starting to get to it, but I think that's something that life is going to have to do for them. But then if we add the
Yes.
education early on, I think the internalized hate that we have for our hair won't be because then we know how to manage it. Then we know how to make it
I
look good.
love that.
Then we can have our natural hair and make it sure it's smooth, moisturized, it's not breaking off. So we're not there yet,
Yes.
but we can get there.
Yes. Yes. Just basic hair care. We need
Basic,
basic hair care education. We really
basic.
do. And then then maybe we won't have to cover it up
Listen, but maybe we will because black women evolve.
because
We're
we
gonna
like
take
it.
one thing,
Exactly.
right? We're gonna take one thing and be like, let me make it better. That's the black girl
Yes.
magic. We'll get that one thing, let's
Yes.
make it better. So that's not even it. But the
Absolutely.
education is also important because you want to keep your hair protected underneath your bust downs,
Yeah.
underneath your braids. Like, I love the
Yeah.
versatility of it, but it still needs to be protected. So then
Absolutely.
you feel comfortable when you take it off.
Yes, I love that. That is the key right there. That
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to wear a weave or wig. You wear it because you choose to, because you like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Because
But
I
when you
like it.
take it off, because I like it. Because that's why I wear mine. I love it. You hear me? I
Right.
absolutely love me some hairs, honey. Okay? And
Mm-hmm.
if
Walk
I don't
different.
have hair on, somebody
Mm-hmm.
take me to the hospital because I am not
Mm-hmm.
well. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Be
Because
like, talk to me different when I got my hair done. Okay,
baby,
talk to me
listen,
different.
honey. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
darling. Okay?
Yes, yes,
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's
absolutely.
like my American Express card. I don't leave home without it. Okay?
Listen, baby, we
But
gotta
that's
give it
my
to you.
own personal preference. You know what I'm saying? It's my
Mm-hmm.
own personal preference. This goes with my look, my polished look. It's what I like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's what
Yeah.
I like.
What do you want to present
And
yourself to the world? How do you want to
exactly.
present yourself?
Exactly.
Hmm.
I get to choose how I show you me. I
Yes.
get to choose how I show you me.
But then I want
It's like
the
that.
people that don't do it. I want, and again, I don't know. Again, it's got to be something internal. Why are you deciding to show up in outside world any old way? Why do you feel comfortable in yourself doing that? Because when I
Right.
look good, I feel
Right.
good. The point every day is to
Yeah.
feel good. So if I'm not looking good,
Yeah.
like you said, take me to the hospital, right? So again, that's
Yeah.
more, I think, internal issues why people show up in the
It is.
world not in their
Definitely.
best. We're burnt out.
Definitely. Definitely. We're burnt out. And then, some of it is generational.
Oh,
This
for
is what
sure.
I've seen.
Oh,
This
for
is
sure.
acceptable where, I work with students all the time. And, I talk to them about attire. I talk to them
Mm-hmm.
about hair. I talk to them about hygiene. I talk to them
Mm-hmm.
about personal presentation. How do you want to show up? Because all of these things matter,
Right.
and you don't know where your life is going to be. Barack Obama didn't know he was going to be the first black president when he was a kid, when he was a
Mm-hmm.
teenager. He didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Kamala
That's why it's
Harris
deeper
had
stuff.
no idea that she was going to be the first female black president. She didn't know that,
No,
or that
no.
she would be running for office. But there's a certain type of self pride that
Mm-hmm.
one has to have. If it's your hair, your body, your hygiene, whatever, there's a certain amount of pride that goes into that. And again, miseducation, lack of education. If I haven't seen that,
Well, it's a
if
lot
I've
of these
never seen
kids.
that.
Right. You don't know. Like if you don't have somebody in your family teaching you how to do these things. And again, nobody's actually sitting us down, telling us step one, two, three, this is why we're doing it, this is how we're doing it in all
Mhm,
aspects of life. So,
mhm,
and if you're not
mhm.
around certain things, you won't even know that that's a thing to do because you're only in your
Right,
environment. So if in your environment,
right,
everybody wearing bonnets outside and pajamas going to the
right.
store, you're going
And
to do that
oh,
because that's what you
right,
see.
right,
So if there's nobody in your
right,
life telling you that there's another option or just
right,
loving yourself, because when you love yourself, why wouldn't I want to show up?
right,
Why
right,
wouldn't I want to show up?
right, right, right. That's why I say it's generational. It's
Generational, passed
generational.
down. It's
Right, passed
unfortunate.
down, but you can be the one to say the buck stops
Absolutely.
here.
I feel like where
The
I
buck
think
stops
I saw different because I myself was not somebody that had someone to tell me what it was, and I believe it's just exposure, exposure
here.
to other things, exposure to different things, and a lot of us don't get outside of our little box. So when you do start to
Hmm.
get work and get jobs and stuff, you're like, oh, this is what's acceptable. So you know what I mean? You just when you get introduced to different things, you start to pull it in, and
Hmm.
then you're gotta introspect like, is this gonna like how's this gonna affect me? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. I was at one of the area colleges a couple of weeks ago, and I make it a point when I walk into the classroom, I don't say anything. I
Mm-hmm.
just walk in. I walk from the door to the desk. It's probably 25, 30 steps. I put my bag down and then I address the class on day one. On day three, I ask them of their what was your first impression when you saw me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were fly. You were about your business. You were a boss. You were on the room. You looked good. You smelled good. Your hair was flowing. All of
Show
that. I
up.
said, how many words? How many words did I say?
But you picked up
You
on
didn't
all
say
that.
one word. You,
Mm-hmm.
I spoke volumes. I didn't say one word. And I think
Yeah.
from our hair right down to our shoes
Period.
that we
Making a
have to be
statement.
more conscientious, right? More conscientious about the way that we're showing up because people will people
They're
have
gonna judge
perceptions
anyway.
about you about your appearance,
Already, right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I was in a class oh gosh, a few weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago, I'm sorry, and one of the women said, I dress the way I want to be addressed. And I think that
Period.
goes along with the hair
Absolutely.
too, because you can be immaculately dressed to the nines, but then you have bed head.
Right. Because
And
it don't make
so
sense. It don't make sense.
right, right. It
So
doesn't go together, right?
that's a lot of self stuff. How we're showing up into the world and how we want to be
Yeah,
addressed. It's just something
yeah,
that has to start in the inside first. You know what I mean? But we also know
yeah,
that these spaces don't allow us to show up in certain ways. So if you want to get access to different spaces, you have to show up to what those spaces need you to show up as. It sucks, but
right.
that's what it is. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Exactly. And you have to code switch into that if you want to be in that room. It's just a fact of life. And it's not giving up your black card if you
Nope.
know you got to show up this way. Like
You
I
gotta
tell
own it.
people when they you got to own it. I tell when I'm teaching workplace development and preparing for interviews, I tell the young people you can wear your blue and pink hair, but not at the
Period.
interview. You got to go and get the job first. You got to go in, you got to code switch into your interview persona, and then after you get the job, then you put your blue and your pink in, but you
Get
have to
in there
go in
first.
and look right. You got to get in there first, and it
Oh
does
yeah.
not mean that you're being fake or phony or turning in your black card because you go in the
Hmm.
room appropriately. It does not mean that.
No, because we're gonna show up and show out
Wow.
every time. We're gonna show up and show
Right, we
out every
should.
time.
Right, right.
Like,
So
because
tell me,
black
do you
women.
think that that hair discrimination laws like the Crown Act, do you really think that they are effective in protecting us in the workplace?
I feel like black women are the least protected group of people in this United States. So no, I don't think so. I think we gotta
Mm-hmm,
fight for our life every day. So that's
mm-hmm,
why you gotta show up the way you want people to address you because people already
mm-hmm,
has underlining things that they already have about you. So I just feel
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm,
we're not there, but what you gonna do? You know what I mean? It's not there to protect us. I think it's there to keep us in a box in some sort of way. Like, I'll let you do this to your hair, but you can't do that. Why does
mm-hmm,
what
mm-hmm,
I like you affect you? But that's a whole nother
mm-hmm.
conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Why do we need a law? Why do we even need a law?
Baby, listen,
Why
why are
do
we
we
still
need a
fighting for
law?
rights? Why are we still fighting for
Right,
rights, for equality?
right, right.
It's so much wrong, but this is what it is right now. Like, it's unfortunate,
Mm-hmm,
but I don't think
mm-hmm,
they just got to get rid of everything. That's
mm-hmm.
it.
So, how do you feel when non-black women adopt our cultural hairdos like cornrows and locks and stuff like that? How do you feel about that as a stylist?
Um, I love the curiosity of it. I get that black women are trendsetters and everybody want to be like us, right? So I don't necessarily be looking at them like they crazy. I actually take it as a side of flattery, right? So like,
Compliment, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like a compliment, you know what I
Hmm,
mean? So,
hmm.
and I get it, but not, but then there's a difference again, who that person is, right? Are you doing it to show appreciation or are you
Are you
trying to,
trying to be down?
yeah, because like,
Yeah, are you trying to be down?
right. Do you know what I mean? So like there's that
Yeah.
difference, right? Like are you trying to pull it on or are you trying to like just sneak one in there? And
Hmm,
so I'm like, do it. I get it.
hmm.
We dope. You know what I mean? We don't, but like, don't be messy. Don't be messy.
Right.
Don't be
Okay, I got
messy.
another good one for you.
Mm.
Question. Have you ever had someone non-black ask you, "Oh my gosh, can I touch your hair? It's so beautiful. I just want to touch it." And before you can respond, they're already in your hair. Have you ever had that experience before?
I feel like we all have to a certain extent, and it's flattering and uncomfortable. But I'm a grown woman. I'm not a child or animal, so I'd be like, no, you cannot pet me. That is kind of weird and strange, and I need you to understand that you shouldn't be going around telling people that. Like I was in the line
Hmm.
at Dunkin' Donuts one day, and I had my big fro out because I'd be like, I'm gonna show up regardless. And he went to reach it, and I was like. He was like, "Oh, you had something in your hair." I was like, "Oh, okay, get it out, but don't do that no more.
Hmm.
Don't do that no
Hmm.
more. Who raised y'all to
Yeah.
be out here touching people without consent? What happened to 6 feet?
Right. Right.
What
And
happened?"
see, I'm kind of, I kind of respond to the curiosity. I used to, really not like it, right?
Hmm.
But then I start to think, if I don't, if I have a space here where I can educate, and is it really education? I don't know, but it does answer the question of curiosity, like what does that feel like? It looks heavy, it looks like it may be hard, and so when people, and I've been asked, I don't know how many times, when, especially when I wear my faux locks, can I touch your hair? And it's so beautiful. Can I touch it? Or I can see when people really want to touch it but are afraid to ask, and I'm
But
I'm
why do they
thankful for
want to
that
touch it?
because
Right.
I don't know. I
I get
don't
it. It's
know.
curiosity, but it's still weird
Yeah.
that you want to touch somebody's hair. And the gag is they be wearing weave too. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna hold you. And at gatekeeping, like if we didn't let them know about weaves, you think they was gonna have some weaves in their hair? So when they come up and ask me, "Can I touch your hair?" or do, "Ooh, no." Let's learn boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Like I get curiosity, but we also live in 2024 where if you wanted to know something, you could have Googled it. Do you know what I mean? You
Mhm.
don't have to wait till you get that close to one of your black friends and then be like, "Can I ask you all the questions I've been wanting to ask black people?" I believe in gatekeeping.
See, I just feel like, for me, I want to help to educate. I
I
want
don't
to
want
help
to.
to educate so
I have no
there's some
desire
type
to.
of understanding. Yeah,
Because they're
I'm
not gonna
sensing that.
understand. They're not gonna understand us regardless. Like I don't go out to correct anybody, but I'm also not out here to educate anybody. Because we're living in a world of information at the palm of your hand. If there's something you wanted to know, there's 1,000 videos on YouTube, TikTok that they could find out. So the
Mhm.
curiosity, it just doesn't seem genuine to me. It just doesn't seem genuine to me. It seems like you've never
Mhm.
been around any colored people, and I feel like we're everywhere. So the fact that you don't have enough black people around you to know the difference, I think you should figure out why that is. Do you know what I
And
mean?
I think that's why I don't mind educating because, people may not have a black girlfriend that can say, "No, sure, go ahead, touch it. It's very soft." It's like, "Oh, it feels different than I thought." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And
But
it's
what
to
did they
me, it's
learn?
that
That it was soft?
I don't know. I
That's
don't
what
know.
I'm
I don't
saying. I
even
don't
know.
like it.
I
It
don't even
seems
know what.
sinister. It seems
Yeah, I don't
sinister
even
to
know
me.
what is the uh initial. I don't understand the curiosity. Maybe I can't, because this feels like white girl hair, so I
Hmm.
don't have to say, "Can I touch your hair?" because I know it feels like this,
Right,
I
right,
don't I
right.
don't know what it is, but I don't know. I'd rather educate you so that you have facts versus assumptions about what it is. So if you had this thought in your head where it's hard, it's heavy, once you touch it and you feel like that's light, that's bouncy, that's behaving, once you touch it and you realize that it's not heavy, it's not harsh, then it has changed your, not just your, it's no longer perception. Now you have knowledgeable information that is now fact. The curiosity should be gone because I've just helped you with that. So I think that's why I do it, because I'd rather you learn it from, if you want to know about black hair, ask a black person,
But what are they going to do
versus,
with that information? I say stay confused.
I don't know. I
What
don't
you gonna do? You
know.
gonna do
I don't
somebody
know.
black hair? You gonna adopt you a black baby? Like every person I've ever allowed my to touch my hair, they be like, "Oh my god, it's so soft and fluffy." So where does that perception or that belief that it isn't soft? Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they're trying to prove something
Hmm.
that they've heard or seen, and I just don't got the time to be trying to teach grown people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
let's move along.
And you rate something else too, adopting black babies, but that can be a whole nother talk show, a
Yeah,
whole
get
nother
me to talking.
podcast episode.
Get me to talking, honey.
All right. So, what advice would you give to a young black woman and she wants to start out in this hair care industry, or she wants to start out and do natural hair, or she wants to embrace her natural hair and retire her wigs, but she has fear about it because she thinks it's going to
Um,
limit her opportunities.
Shameless plug, get my book, dimearoundtown.com is my website because I actually break things down in a very step by step, straight to the point. I'm not a buller. You know what I mean? So you here to learn how to do your hair. This is going to teach you. But I just say get water in your hair, baby. Everything on the information on the internet, it is out there, but you gotta learn how to decipher what it is because nothing has been created with black women in mind. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
created with black women.
Yeah. And the
Like
water thing, water thing in our hair, that thing.
so that's more so
Right.
porosity. So the reason why our hair takes a long time to absorb the water, you know how you hit it with water and it's still fluffy and wet? That's
Mm-hmm.
because the porosity of your hair is so low. So what our texture hair, it's fine. We just have high density, or some have
Mm-hmm.
medium to low density. So
Right.
that fine strand of hair and the cuticle is so close that when you try to get water in it, it won't penetrate. We're trying to get it
Mm-hmm.
saturated. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, we're just
Mm-hmm.
getting our hair wet. We have to actually get
Right.
our hair saturated. So I know that saturated things don't feel rough. So when our hair is wet
Mm-hmm.
and it's still rough, it's not saturated. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
huge key for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us in our hair is that the fact that we can get our
Mm-hmm.
hair saturated with water. It's going to go limp. If your hair's
What
still
about
poofy,
swimming? What about swimming? We don't want to go swimming because we don't want to get our hair wet. We don't want to go out in the rain because we don't want to get our hair wet.
well, naturals don't necessarily have that issue, right? Because you know what I mean? It's natural in its natural state. Braids, locks, they don't really need that. It's just us when we're looking cute with our 21 bust down. We're not about to get in the water and mess it up because we knew how much it was going to take to get it there in the first place. But getting our hair wet is
Oh
just
my
getting it wet. Like the water
God.
has
Right.
chlorine, the water has salt. Wash your hair afterwards. A quick tip to help with
Right.
that is wet it down, put cheap conditioner on it, so then it won't be so bad when you get out of the water. So it just depends on
Right.
what's going on there. Like, and I think that's back to society too, telling us like, oh no, I can't get my hair wet. But the real reason black women don't
Mm-hmm.
want to get their hair wet is because know how long it take to get to whatever it is we got. That's why we don't want to get it wet.
Right. That's the thing. Right.
Hmm.
That is the thing right there. You know
It
how
is
long
just
it took
self
me? I said
preservation,
at the hairdresser. Right. I was at the hairdresser for 8 hours.
baby. You not
I'm
about
not
to
getting this
sister
hairdo has to
about to
last me for
sleep
2 weeks.
like this, about to sleep like this. Okay, yes,
Exactly. Exactly.
absolutely.
Because I remember in middle school and high school, there were a lot of girls who was like, oh, my mother said I can't get my hair wet.
Right,
I was
because
one of those
they're
girls that,
all
you
right.
got that fresh press and curl Easter Sunday.
Ugh,
You better not go to school
almost
on
died
Monday.
with a hot comb, girl. Yes, we about to.
Listen, you better not listen. You're going to wear this listen,
So
till
that
you
whole
can't wear it
time,
anymore.
we've been trying to just get our hair to submit for a long time, and now we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to get it hydrated. Get it hydrated, baby. I promise you, you'll never. It'll
I
never
love
not.
that.
It'll never not
I
work.
love that. Yeah.
Hmm.
We've been trying to get our hair to submit. I love that.
Yes,
I love
hydrated.
that.
Love it.
So,
Pour into it.
So let me ask you this question that I ask all of my guests that come on the show. You are aspiring to open up your own salon, and I'm sure that there is a certain type of hustle and grind that goes into making that happen to achieve that goal. And I'm sure you have a lot of obstacles and barriers in the way while trying to achieve the goal. How do you stay graceful and elegant and feminine in the process of going through these hardships of trying to establish your own salon? How do you do that and still make it look good?
I am a firm believer that I am going to get everything that I want. And all it takes is patience, because I have the work
Mhm.
ethic. I know how to do research, and I'm going to get it done, right? So
Mhm.
it's just that Black woman perseverance. Like when my mind is set on something, it's set on it. But then I also don't want to burn
Mhm.
out either. So there's balance, right? So
Right.
I have kids in a home that I want to do, but I also have these bills and a business that I have to do it. So
Right.
carving out time, being organized,
Right.
understanding how my money is working coming in, how it's going out,
Mhm.
and also just doing everything with my heart, because if I give with my heart, it's never going to not return back. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
balance, knowing things, you know what I mean, being organized, taking time for yourself, pouring back into me and not always into other people. That's what it is.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much for coming and just gracing us with your presence here at Grace and Grind. I so appreciate you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
in a moment's notice, and you were
Thanks for
here, even
having
though we
me.
had. Oh my gosh, I feel honored to have shared this space with you
Aw,
today. I
thanks for
truly
having
do,
me.
and you are wise beyond your years. I must say that
Thank you. I
it
actually
was
get that a lot, right?
definitely.
I
Yeah,
get
I'm
that a
sure you
lot.
do.
Hmm.
I'm sure you do. It was a great conversation.
Thank
All right,
you.
my graceful grinders, that's all we have time for today. I want you to tune in to our next episode. I don't know what we're going to be talking about yet. It's going to be a surprise to me and you, but you can
Mhm.
bet it's going to be great. Don't forget to run out and get Dominique Curry's book, Intentional Curls, and hit her up on the website at domaroundtown.com to
Thank
get all
you.
of your hair care needs questions answered. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. And don't forget to always remember to create your own totally unique day on purpose.
We did good.
Did I stop? Did I stop?